Do you really know who is fighting for you? Have you ever felt that even while praying, even trying to do everything right, nothing happens? Have you ever wondered why so many attacks come, even when it seems God is with you? Today we'll reveal what no one has told you. Angels are around you, yes, but they stand with arms crossed because you haven't yet done what activates heaven. This video is not a light meditation. It's an urgent warning for souls who want to break invisible cycles of spiritual stagnation. The war is already happening, and many are losing without knowing they're even on the battlefield. And worse, with celestial armies alongside, standing. Still, we live in a time of confusion, noise, distractions, and hasty decisions. Faith has become a label, not a life or death alliance. People claim to be protected, but walk as if spiritually unarmed. How can this be? In the invisible reality, there is logic. The spiritual world operates with clear rules, and one of them is simple. The heavens only move when your faith moves. God acts, angels protect, but the trigger is in you. In this video, we'll break myths, destroy illusions, and reveal spiritual codes that were hidden behind consecrations, invisible pacts, silent words, and decisions that seemed small but have eternal impact. You'll see what activates, what paralyzes, and what's holding you back without you realizing. If you're ready for a direct spiritual confrontation and to ignite your calling once and for all, then stay with me until the end. Because this revelation might be what was missing to turn your life upside down and finally toward heaven. You may not remember, but you've already signed something. Spiritually speaking, we are all bound to covenants. Some were made by the words we spoke, others inherited from our ancestors. And the most dangerous? Most agreements shaping your life were made in the silence of your ignorance. How many decisions have you made without God? How many spiritual yeses have you given out of fear, addiction, habit, pride, or a need disguised as choice? And now, you live under the shadow of an alliance you don't even know exists. The Bible is clear. God gives us the power to choose life or death, blessing or curse. But the problem is that the enemy doesn't need your awareness to act, just your legality. That's what few understand. The spiritual world is legalistic. If you gave an opening, it has a place to dwell. And if you haven't consecrated your life with authority to heaven, someone else consecrated it, even without words. Sometimes your inertia is the covenant. The absence of surrender is, in itself, an alliance with the control of darkness. Was precisely for this reason that Saint Louis de Montfort was so radical in consecrating himself to the Virgin Mary. He understood that only a total surrender could nullify the contracts of the world. His consecration wasn't ritual. It was a legal transfer of ownership. And because of this, he lived as a free man, even amid persecutions. Are you willing to break the invisible ties that keep you imprisoned? Or will you continue saying Amen with your routine to everything God hasn't asked of you? Stop now and think, what pattern has been repeating in your life? What area doesn't prosper no matter how hard you try? What might be behind this is an invisible agreement that continues to operate because you haven't broken it yet. Today is the day to choose again. Will you follow the flow that brought you here? Or will you declare war on the covenant that shaped a destiny that wasn't yours? The spiritual pen is back in your hand, and it writes in blood or in glory. Have you noticed how the figure of Mary disturbs so much? That even within the Christian faith itself, there's an effort to silence her, diminish her, or make her just a decorative detail of devotion. It's no coincidence, it's spiritual warfare. Because the enemy doesn't fear speeches, he fears the woman clothed with the sun. He knows that where Mary enters, he must retreat. Because she isn't just a mother. She is a celestial tactic revealed for the end times. Mary is God's silent response to the screams of hell. Saint Louis never tired of saying that the true children of Mary roar like lions against evil. And why? Because she forms warriors. She doesn't overlook your sin. She steps on the serpent's head. What you need to understand is that Mary's role isn't to compete with Jesus, but to form those who will live like him. And this the enemy cannot allow. That's why he so strongly opposes Marian devotion. because whoever truly belongs to her becomes a threat. But attention, we're not talking here about an infantilized faith of praying for the sake of praying, of just remembering Mary when you need help. We're talking about spiritual access to a mysterious force of armed motherhood and invisible protection. Mary is shield and sword, and what she covers with her mantle hell cannot touch. If you have neglected your Marian devotion, perhaps you're opening flanks through which the enemy strikes you without mercy. Now look at your life and answer silently. Where is your devotion? Has it been active or symbolic? Strategic or superficial? Because whoever ignores Mary chooses to fight with one hand tied, and whoever truly belongs to her never fights alone. She is the mother who doesn't shout, but who makes hell fall silent. And today perhaps it's the day to run back to this lap that heaven itself set up as the final trench of salvation. You can dress like a winner, present yourself as someone of faith, even talk like a believer. But in the spiritual world, what matters isn't what you show, it's what you emanate. There is a hidden mirror, an invisible reflection that reveals what's inside your soul. And both heaven and hell know exactly who you are, even if you're still trying to figure it out. Have you thought about this? What are you transmitting spiritually as you live your routine? This spiritual reflection is shaped not only by your actions but by the intentions you silently nurture, what you don't speak but feel, what you don't do but desire. Saint Louis Marie understood this deeply. That's why he sought purity as a form of warfare. He knew that a clean heart is a radar for heaven and a barrier for hell. The problem is that many are being pursued by what they still carry inside, even while trying to change on the outside. You need to know. There are types of light that attract angels, and there are types of shadows that call demons. Your inner state has color, form, and scent in the spiritual world. What you emit defines what kind of battle you'll face, whether of victory or survival. Most people are being attacked not because of what they do, but because of what they emanate. And the worst part, without even realizing it. So I ask you a hard question. What are you radiating right now? Are you a source of light or a breach of darkness? Are you living with authority or just staging a faith that doesn't transform? Because God sees the heart, and hell does too, and both are now reading what you might be trying to hide. But the good news is that the reflection can be reconfigured, and from today it can begin to show the image of the one who dwells in you. Did you know that even your silent suffering is saying something in the spiritual world? Each renunciation you make, each silent pain, each effort that no one saw, all of this has a voice. But here's the truth few dare to face. The sacrifices you make are either rising to heaven or being exploited by hell. There is no neutrality in the spiritual. Every pain is an offering. The question is, to whom have you been offering your pains? Some people suffer out of ego, and that's fuel for darkness. Some pretend to endure for others, but it's actually pride masked as goodness. Heaven doesn't receive contaminated sacrifice. Only what is delivered with a pure spirit, even without words, moves angels and activates divine favor. Saint Louis Marie taught us that the sacrifice of oneself, out of love, is a weapon more powerful than many spoken prayers. And here's the point that will shake you. Perhaps you've been talking to the invisible all the time, without knowing what you're saying. How many times have you endured a humiliation, a loss, a trauma, and thought it was just pain? But there was a language being coded in heaven. And, depending on the intention behind your reaction, you offered it as worship, or as a gateway for oppression. Hell feeds on hidden resentment. God responds to voluntary surrender. Both listen, but only one can act with glory. So the next time pain hits, stop everything and ask, to whom am I offering this? Because that changes everything. Sacrifice isn't just something you feel. It's something you say. And what you say with your pain, heaven or hell will attend to. The final question is, do you want to continue shedding blood on the wrong altars? Have you ever felt that something was wrong but couldn't explain it? Or have you ever noticed you were going down a path, only to discover later that you were manipulated by emotions, ideas, or even false signs? This isn't chance. This is spiritual mental warfare. And most are losing this battle without even knowing they're being attacked. Discernment, this ability to see what the eyes don't show, is under direct attack in these times. Chaos isn't just social, political, or emotional. It's architected in the invisible to generate a fog, a constant noise that paralyzes the spirit. And in this fog, God's people lose direction. Saint Louis Marie warned, "A consecrated heart develops a divine intelligence." It's not about being smarter, but about being more attuned to the heavens. Because where there is no clarity, there is confusion. And where there is confusion, there is opportunity for the enemy to plant deception. And deception is plentiful. Ideas that seem good but distance you from God. Feelings that seem genuine but were forged. Discernment today needs to be like a sharp sword, because not everything that shines comes from light, and not every doubt comes from God. Who is feeding your mind? What you watch, listen to, allow? Is it activating the spirit or sabotaging the voice from above? Perhaps you think you're confused. But I ask you, who is speaking inside your mind? Because if you can't discern this, you'll follow the wrong voice thinking it's divine direction, and you'll fall into holes that looked like doors. The time has come to purify the field of your mind and reactivate heaven's radar, because God still speaks. But the question is, who is preventing you from hearing? Have you ever prayed asking for protection? Have you ever called upon God's angels? Then answer with sincerity, have you done your part? Because yes, angels exist, and they are active, but they are celestial warriors, not spiritual babysitters. They don't act automatically. They wait for orders. And often what paralyzes these guardians, that is your silence, your inertia, your omission. In the spiritual realm, nothing is automatic. Angels are sent by God, but they wait for you to take a stand. Saint Louis Marie invoked Mary as Queen of Armies, but he himself wielded the sword of renunciation, consecration, fasting, active prayer. He moved, and the heavens moved with him. But how many today want heaven to fight battles for which not even knees are being bent? There are wars that angels wage for you, but there are fights that are yours. God will not do for you what he commanded you to do with faith. Angels can guard some, but they won't force you to obey. They can watch, but they won't fight for a heart that's sleeping on the battlefield. Your spiritual activation is the invisible command that moves the heavens. And if you're standing still, the angels are in standby mode. So I ask you, do you want victory? Or do you want to outsource your faith? The guardians are around you, but they await your decision. And while you procrastinate, the enemy advances. It's not lack of protection, it's lack of activation. The celestial armies are by your side, but they cannot fight if you don't decide to wage war. Stop playing with your faith. This isn't Sunday religion, nor motivational mysticism. We're talking about spiritual ownership, about who truly governs you. Because in the invisible world, either you belong to heaven, or you're being controlled by forces that pretend to give you freedom. And the only real path of rupture, according to Saint Louis Marie, is total consecration. Radical, irreversible, true. To consecrate yourself isn't to dedicate yourself a little more or go to church more often. It's transferring the ownership of your life. It's removing your name from the title of the soul and placing Jesus' name. It's living as a slave out of love to become free in the spirit. Saint Louis Marie taught, whoever consecrates themselves to the Virgin is formed like Christ. And only those who are like Christ have the authority to walk as children in a land dominated by darkness disguised as light. Perhaps what's blocking your liberation isn't sin itself, but your fear of surrendering completely. You want to be freed, but you don't want to lose control. You want transformation, but with a comfort zone. And that, my brother, my sister, doesn't exist. Either you surrender, or you continue being manipulated by invisible spiritual contracts, fueled by your indecision. So today, with all the strength this video can bring you, I ask you, are you willing to lose everything to gain your soul back? Will you continue negotiating with God, or will you sign with blood and glory your total consecration? Because the key to liberation isn't in another miracle, it's in your surrender. Today the heavens ask you, are you ready to leave the control of darkness? Or will you continue pretending you're in control of yourself? Today you discover that angels are around you, but heaven doesn't move without your decision. You understood that there are invisible pacts shaping destinies, spiritual mirrors exposing you, and that discernment is under constant warfare. And now the most important truth, your liberation won't come from waiting. It will come from surrender, not from religion, but from a real alliance with heaven. Consecrate yourself, break free, take a stand, break the old contracts and write your new story with heaven. Comment below, today I choose total consecration, and share this video with those who need to activate the dormant angels around their own lives. Give thanks, testify, and follow the channel. Because this war is real, and your soul can no longer remain neutral.